Hello, everyone. I'm Kevin Carpenter, and joining me today for this phenomenal interview for City of Mist's upcoming expansion, Local Legends, is the editor for Son of Oak Game Studio and the writer for the expansion districts Fortune Row and Sunken City, Eran Aviram. Eran, how are you doing today?
Great, thank you. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing great. Honestly, I love doing these interviews, man. I love talking about this game, and I love talking to the people who are, behind this game. All of you guys are like a large part of putting this world out there and making it happen. And so, to get this started, actually, tell us about yourself. How did you get to where you are now, especially with Son of Oak?
Well, specifically with Son of Oak, I've been an editor in the Israeli RPG scene. The listeners at home might realize that I have some accent, and very keen listeners might understand that this accent is somewhat similar to Amit. Amit Moshe, also Israeli originally. None of us currently live in Israel, but I've been translating and editing role-playing games for the Israeli market. And Amit, when he started working on City of Mist, like when it became a thing, just turned to me because the Israeli market is very small. I was the editor. there wasn't really anyone else. And that's how I became the editor for City of Mist. Fortunately, it seems like I've been doing a good job, and he kept me for everything since.
That's an amazing story. So, you knew Amit going into this. What was sort of the transition period? Oh, not even like a transition because you're still doing editing work for Son of Oak. But what was sort of like the moment where you were doing editing work for Son of Oak and then you became a writer for City of Mist?
Okay, so I'm also a writer. I'm a freelance writer. I'm currently writing stuff for other companies. And I've written a whole book for Savage Worlds, which, again, another system. But I've never written for City of Mist until I think Amit came to me and said, if I want to write anything, because 8 districts, 7, it's a lot of districts, it's a lot of stuff, and finding writers is hard. So I asked if I want to do any of them, and I was really keen, I think, on Fortune Row because I love fortune and heists, and I think mid-season whatever of Hustle, which is a brilliant show about hustling, and that's what all Fortune Row is about. It's con man and it's heist and that I took it in like both hands, and I don't recall how I got to Sunken. Probably because it's a Porp thing. Sunken City is very different from any other district. It's like shifting gears on how you play City of Mist.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that both as a challenge mechanically, because it was clear to me that it needs to feel mechanically different to be there. So I really liked that he, generally speaking, Amit agreed. There were many changes, of course. He edited me when that happened. But he was generally accepting of my ideas, and I appreciate that in an editor.
Love that. So for people who are just joining us, you created the district for Fortune Row and for Sunken City. So I'd like to kind of go into these districts a bit and talk about them. So first, can you tell me a bit more about Fortune Row besides that it's inspired by hustle?
So it's all about glitz and casinos and the high life. I mean, you're all supposed to look amazing while you're going around doing your stuff in Fortune Row, even when you are going in the side streets and talk with there's a sports like small sports shop in the middle of nowhere that's actually a cover for high-end heist equipment, and there's this dude that just hires out some cleaning maintenance people, but actually he hires out touched heist specialists, because we can't assume that your party has everyone. Your crew probably is not ready for a heist. You're ready for City of Mist cases. But if you want to make heist, you will need a driver and you need a face, and you will need all sorts of people that you might not have. So here are some Vim kits that you can hire to go and make some heist in the several casinos that we have there, with the most extreme security measures we can come up with because we want it to be really hard. We want to feel like a heist that you have to, against mythical forces, that you have to use everything you have if you want to survive this and get to the really, really juicy prize at the end of it.
So it's basically like this huge like Ocean's 11 district. It's like, here's a bunch of casinos, here's a bunch of fronts. You know, instead of solving a murder, you're solving the mystery of how to get into the vault and get out.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't want to spoil too much, but the main thing, of course, that you go for is not money. Everyone can make some money with change the game. No, you go for stuff like changing your mythos, gaining ultimate secrets that cannot be, they're like super duper hidden from all sort of scrying, etc. Or luck. You can gain luck. Fortune in Fortune Row is a very real thing that is regulated carefully by the people of the row, and I won't say anything beyond that.
That is a lot, though. That does make me think, though. City of Mist is the kind of game where you can have a character whose like main superpowers having money, like very Batman, or you could like create a character who can like create jewels and all that. So if you want to heist in City of Mist, you do need to go after something that is valuable in that sense.
It can't be material unless it's like, a single rose that some avatar, that if you show it to some avatar, then that will be their downfall. So they keep it in this vault in the middle of the most secure, etc., etc.
Love that.
That's what you have to go for.
So Fortune Row is, like the big casino heist district, but then on like the other side of the city, not even like in the city, really.
No.
In its own like, in the water is the Sunken city. So can you tell us a bit more about that district?
Okay, so Sunken City is Atlantis, and it says so from the start. It's literally Atlantis, but it is also so, for reasons that are again maybe spoilery, and perhaps to be determined by the MC anyway. The Sunken City is literally different from the city. It doesn't have mist. It has some tiny little bit of mist, but it's like its own mist. It's its own thing. If the entire city is the entirety of existence for the game, this is your chance to go somewhere else, just a little bit else. But you can see the city from the Sunken City probably if you would be at sea level. It's not that far away, and getting there is really tricky. There are like 2 pages on just how to get there because it's really tricky. There are various methods to do so, and none of them work twice. Work the second time. Inside, your mythos is so clear and visible and obvious that you gain a new mythos theme that is unique to the city, to the Sunken City, and only exists while you are in the Sunken City. And no one there can be a sleeper. Sleepers awaken when they enter, for example. That's just the high-powered, crazy sort of place. With the issue that, therefore, it's like sort of a crazy sort of place. There's barely any government. There's the ancient elders in the Tower of Judgment, and there are like ancient golems that walk around, crystal golems that take care of stuff. And there are all sorts of polities, which are basically people that escape from the city and their city and want to do stuff, like maybe they want to go back and reclaim something, or maybe they are very keen on exploring how far they can go with their myth or whatever. They create small polities, and we give an example of several of them. All of them hopefully super fun and somewhat creepy. And then you go wild. There are some custom moves in Sunken City. Actually, there are a few in Fortune Row as well. They allow you to place a bet when you roll the dice, or to double the ante and stuff like that when you're in Fortune Row. There's also its own set of rules for Atlantis, because in Atlantis, 2 things are for certain, and they are like encoded into rules and into your game. First, there are no limits in essence, if you want to go far, if you want to create the biggest, to go the furthest you can, and second, ruin will come. Atlantis will fall. It's part of the myth. Atlantis falls. And it will definitely happen in your game. If you go to Atlantis, it's quite likely that whatever it is you're aiming for will eventually fall down, and possibly all of Atlantis with it. And that's like the point. It's a district with an end date. It's an expiration date. It's going down.
Because as we all know, players in a tabletop role-playing game will go with the plans for the campaign and will never subvert destiny at all.
Destroy everything. Destroy everything.
Or they'll do that. Maybe they'll hasten it. It'll be really interesting to see once like the expanded Sunken City comes out in Local Legends. Each of these districts are also going to have a one-shot case, which are sort of like built into the district. And I'm really excited to see that. So nothing's set in stone right now. Things are still being written. But is there anything that you'd be like excited or interested to see like added on to either of these districts?
So I would love in Fortune Row to see it's a place of anti-heroes as well. It's a place where you go to and sometimes maybe desperately. I mean, maybe you have nothing else to do, and just this one final heist, just one final thing.
Just one more job.
Just one more job. And then, son of a bitch, I'm in. And that's maybe what I want to see. Not necessarily for the players. I mean, potentially. It really depends maybe on themes, on your location in the story, but I would like to see a one last job sort of thing that is not necessarily in like the Zodiac Hotel, which is the main place that we've envisioned, but maybe in one of the smaller ones, and potentially finding yourself. I want it to end like Ocean 11's ended, with the big bad, the house, still alive, existing, and now keen on revenge. So it should not be the end. Even if it begins like the one last job, it's not the end. It's starting something new.
All right, first case, one last job. Second case, we messed up. Love that.
In Sunken City, I want to see. Well, it's really pulpy. It's really Indiana Jones and stuff. So I want to go there. I would love to see a case where we can let the players, run through ruined temples as they crumble down. There's actually rules for it already. There's a location in Sunken City is just called Ancient Structure, and it's a dynamic sort of location that it has its own danger where you had to go through, and it can be any sort of ancient structure. But I want it to be something like, we need to go after the ancient gem of whatever, and it must be a gem, and recover it. And it sounds a bit heisty now that I think about it, but it's heist against the elements, against the evil, very pulpy, like literal just evil guys. There's in City of Mist, I think there's so much gray. In Sunken City, there are evil guys that want to create death rays. So you can definitely should have one of them in there.
Love that. So these districts couldn't be farther apart, not only in like their locations in the city, but also in like the genre inspirations, how they feel. Even if both of them have that sort of like heist element, if you want, it's less of like heisting through a casino in Fortune Row and then heisting through
I think it's specifically my case. The case that I'm imagining is a heist. It's not really a big thing. It's just that I keep thinking about Indiana Jones, and most of it feels to me like stealing from tombs. So.
Well, if you don't mind me asking, what were sort of some of your inspirations for both Fortune Row and Sunken City, especially since you kind of had to switch that headspace between writing these two very different districts?
So, well, first of all, thankfully, there was like a year apart. And in Fortune Row, Hustle, it's such a good show. It's a really good show. I know the UK version, maybe there's a US version. Hustle UK, really, really good. And, well, Terry Pratchett, actually. Terry Pratchett, I don't want to say what exactly, but he has some metaphysical ideas about fortune and the like. that were very useful in here. Beyond that, of course, once you start doing a district, the first thing you do is go to Wikipedia, go to Mythos Encyclopedia, and just browse for anything that has the remotest connection to the theme that you are looking for, and try to find relevant mythoi. Because and that brings so much inspiration. When you find like the zodiac, tarot, both of them they have to do with fortune, with luck. So I put both things into, and one of them is pretty big, the Zodiac Hotel, which can bring about like Scorpion as a concept against you, or Gemini as a concept that as a security measure, you fight yourself. Spoiler. And in Sunken City, first of all, Amit really wanted to have a place for all of the water and ocean and sea mythoi, because where would you put them in the city? So that was a big thing, finding as many water stuff as I can. And I really like old science fiction, like original era science fiction, H.G. Wells and Jules Verne. And not to say that like I read all of them, I wish I would, but I'm not that good at reading books. But I really like the concept and the feel and the artistic, I don't know, sort of imagination that they had about how, the world just works like this. You can shoot people to the moon, and that's how it works. And that's what inspired me, I think, for the headspace that you have when you play in Sunken City.
Yeah, that like sci-fi aesthetic of like anything is possible. You can make a giant wheel into a time machine, like that kind of thing.
I mean, that's how it works. There's a giant sun in the sky inside the Sunken City. The Sunken City is like a huge dome, and there's a giant sun. And once upon a time, there was a specific god that ruled it, but then, to make it more efficient, they built a giant, huge clockwork scarab to push the sun. It's another mythos. This one is the sun mythos from Egyptian mythology, and now that god is like out of job. And sure, why not? That's Sunken City for you.
That's so interesting to think about, with like all these mythologies colliding in City of Mist. Like when one how many mythologies there are about like moving the sun across the sky, and when one is doing it, the others are out of a job.
In Sunken City, that's the place where when you would have them. There's no longer any veneer of mundanity. There's no. You can say, okay, so you interpret sun as it's part of your shining, but it's just one of your themes. Or no, there's literally sun gods, and if there are several of them, they have a problem, and they will fight, and buildings will burn, and it's just the sort of thing that happens there sometimes. And I give an example of how once upon a time, well, funny I said it, but every once in a while, a group of let's say princes, mythos of princes. Prince Charming, Prince Handsome, Prince whatever, come along and say, let's make like a polity of princes. And after a few months, it falls apart because, no, I'm their prince. No, I'm their prince. And they just can't. It seems like a great idea. But when you get all of the fox spirits from different mythologies to be in the same place, they will outmaneuver each other until no one survives.
I guess then it kind of like, you can see like, oh, that's one of the reasons why there's a mist in the City of Mist, because when you have all these mythologies like coming together very open, it's inevitably there's going to be some conflict.
I think it makes you appreciate the mundane. I think you have like a sigh of relief once you leave Sunken City and go back to the mist.
I absolutely love that. I can't wait to see more of both the Sunken City and Fortune Row when the Local Legends expansion to City of Mist eventually releases. But If you are interested in getting the Local Legends book, in backing the project and making it a reality, and also getting in on some choice pledge tiers in order to get more City of Mist books, more City of Mist content, and seeing our daily unlocks where we release new content on the Kickstarter campaign every day, then go to the link in the description and check out the Local Legends Kickstarter campaign. It's still going on throughout the month. Get in on it now. You won't regret it, folks. Eran, thank you so much for joining me for this interview.
Gladly.
This was so much fun.
Gladly. Go to the mist. Return to the mist. Do we have a catchphrase? Go play City of Mist.
Go play City of Mist.